captain.
He is. He's a
for
captain.
the AFC, I believe.
Yeah, so he's involved. What an odd choice without justification. I just wonder how did they get to the point? Because they know, like, it's not like they would have wanted this. The NFL doesn't want this. They want this to work.
It just doesn't make sense.
No.
They would have been better off being like, look, we needed to dip in on the NFC side because there's a billion people you could have had from the NFC. Like literally a billion.
Well, I'm almost to the point, like, if it's going to be skills competition, what difference does it make if it's AFC or NFC?
Agreed.
So Burrow did bow out, it appears, from
Like
CBS
today?
Sports.
Yeah.
So he
As
must have
Derek
bowed out
Carr's
after this
replacing
morning.
him.
Must have. Yeah.
What time did Burrow bow out?
Did they ask Carr before Hundley?
This morning, what I
Was
saw
Carr in
was that
before
Lawrence and Huntley were added to the Pro Bowl for Allen and Mahomes. So Carr was added after Huntley. Where's the timestamp on that, Gibbe?
Derek Carr an hour ago. Well, maybe this invitation got lost in the mail from past seasons, but I'm going back to Pro Bowl number 4. See you soon, Vegas.
So Huntley, it looks like made it before
Carr.
Yes.
Because Carr and Jared Goff were the replacements for Hurts and Burrow.
Right.
Yes.
So Burrow moved out later. So the original AFC was Mahomes, Burrow, Allen.
Good.
Tua, Herbert are the alternates.
Yes.
So either by injury, still playing, or choosing, none of them are in.
Yes.
So top 5 choices are all out. So that leads you to Lawrence, Carr, Huntley. The Huntley part of it, it just doesn't.
Just doesn't make sense. I don't care how many
You would have
people.
been better off with, what's the sourpuss in New England?
Mac Jones?
Mac Jones, Russ Wilson, Ryan Tannehill.
Definitely Russ. Tannehill. Yeah.
Tannehill for sure. Jacoby was far more worthy. Honestly, Deshaun. I mean, that's ridiculous. Two touchdown passes.
I just don't like what I feel.
What? Why?
I feel like we're owed this. I feel like we are
Yeah, no
owed
problem.
somebody to make a statement says, okay,
Here's why this happened.
this is obviously
we asked all these
shocking to
guys
you.
and they said no.
which means the Pro Bowl should be done.
So somehow,
The
some
end.
way, Huntley finished 7th in voting.
Ravens fans love him.
no, or it's a joke to like vote against
So,
people, so you're not voting for anybody.
Mahomes,
It's like a
Burrow,
waste.
and Allen were the original Pro Bowl honorees. Tua and Herbert were the alternates.
I find it hard to believe he finished. That doesn't feel real to me, unless it was like a campaign to actively not vote for real people.
It says Mahomes is Super Bowl bound. All 4 of Allen, Herbert, Jackson, and Tua have been excused due to injuries. Burrow bowed out as well and will be replaced by Derek Carr. Huntley, therefore, will join fellow alternate Trevor Lawrence and Carr as the AFC's actual Pro Bowl game.
Hold on, you said
QB.
Jackson was in the mix? So there's no way Huntley finished 7th in voting. He didn't outvote Lamar
You would not think. Do you guys know where Josh Allen's doing instead of playing in this?
playing golf.
That's right. AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am.
Tells you all you need to know. It's done. It's done. Football can't be played as a joke.
No, it doesn't. It's not going to work. And it, like I said, so last year the Pro Bowl did right at
He'd
7.
rather play golf.
Yeah, you'd rather be in Pebble Beach than doing a bunch of nonsense Nickelodeon style. The thing about it is there was a value in going to Hawaii. There's a value in that.
Well,
it's an expenses,
and
all
your
expense
family
paid
got to-
trip
yeah.
for you and your family to Hawaii at a resort. You pal around with the rest of the NFL world. There's fun in that. Like, people look back so fondly on that.
We could
When
all
you-
agree there's a currency in that.
There is a currency, an actual currency.
Yeah, we could agree on
There's
that.
real value.
There's real value.
You can't just say, well, there's a currency in this if there isn't any.
But if there is.
But if there is,
Oh,
free
baby.
trip to Hawaii
Yeah.
for
Now
the
you're cooking with
family,
gas.
the whole league there. I mean, you could do this same operation, this, Thursday nonsense and Sunday nonsense. You could do it.
Yeah.
If you do Hawaii, then there's something that incentivizes. My guess is they stopped doing Hawaii because it got expensive. Cheaper to fly people to Orlando or Vegas.
I guess.
I'm sure it's that straightforward. But there was value in that. This is a bad job. Here's the other thing. This thing's going to last 1 year, and here's why. Last year, the Pro Bowl did 7 million viewers. Okay?
This will do 0.
This is going to do like 2. I would set this at like 5.5 million on Sunday, somewhere in there, which is still better than
Not
most
terrible.
college football. It's better than any of the NBA you're watching during the regular season.
Yeah.
Bigger than Major League Baseball, all that stuff. So it'll still do a good number, but I bet they take a huge hit because people want to see the game. People will get locked in. People are going to turn this on and go, what am I watching? What is this? You know? I'll tell you who will love it if I put it on. My kids will love it. The Thursday stuff they'll love. Like all that nonsense. Have you read the description of the events for Thursday?
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff.
It's like Nickelodeon. It's like Nickelodeon met with like, what's the Warrior thing? American Ninja Warrior. That's what it's like. And then randomly Longest Drive is in there, which is wild. But like, that's the whole operation to it. It's for the kids. But yeah, Josh Allen's playing the Pro-Am. By the way, speaking of golf, it's a bad job that you had Torrey in Dubai last week in the first weekend without football since third weekend in August, and we're doing Pebble Beach with a diluted field. Like, Pebble's gorgeous, but it's a diluted field. There's nobody in it because everyone plays Waste Management next week.
You should still always play Pebble.
They don't, though. You know this. They don't.
Why is the Waste Management competing with the Super Bowl?
Well, it leads into it. That's the operation. Is they end it early so that they can be done before the Super Bowl festivities start. But Torrey's always a big event. The Dubai had all the drama. You guys saw that, the Patrick Reed, Rory stuff, all that. And now you've got Pebble, which is the best tour stop you can have, but no one plays it.
I don't understand that. Why wouldn't you want to just go play Pebble? I'd want to play Pebble, period.
They want the rest before Waste Management. They don't want to play back-to-back weeks. It's the first break in the schedule.
Max Homa, is that his last name? Do you see what he did after he won?
Yeah.
Then he went and played a Muni Skins game in Phoenix.
Fantastic.
And won it. Shot 67, made $450.
It's fantastic. I like that guy.
I love him too.
By the way, did you see you saw the Patrick Reed, Rory flick of the tee, all that business?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So they played in the final pairing in Dubai. You saw Patrick Reed's ball where he claimed he hit it versus where it actually was hit. Did you see those?
No.
Okay. So he's playing in a final pairing with Rory.
It's on
They don't
TV.
like
You
each other.
can't claim where your
They
ball
don't like
is.
each other, right?
It's
we
on
come
TV.
to find out that Rory was subpoenaed. Patrick Reed subpoenaed Rory McIlroy on Christmas Eve in his lawsuit against the PGA Tour. Patrick Reed did that. So that came out last week. This is when you were in Florida.
Yeah.
So in the final round, Patrick Reed claims to have hit a ball into a palm tree, but he says it's the third palm tree, and he says, absolutely, that's my ball, so he can take a drop. Brandville Chambly, the Golf Channel, get a hold of it. They isolate the ball. The ball very clearly does not land in that tree at all, but rather the first of the three set of palm trees, the first one, which would have caused it to either be bouncing in any sort of number of directions, or it could have got stuck in that palm tree. Irregardless, it is not the palm tree that he claims. In other words, he claimed the ball was his that was not. And this has happened with him all the time. This is his act. He does this business. So not been a good week for him on that side of things. And then Rory beat him. They basically head-to-head, and Rory beat him in the final.
I mean, that's what I think is funny is you're on TV. Like, you can't make up that where your ball went. It's on TV.
Well, it's the DP Tour, which I think is the old European Tour, right? So, like, I don't know if they have the same camera capacity
sure
in live time that the PGA Tour has. I would also say this, that no one has ever talked more about that sport than is currently being talked about it. I don't know if it'll translate to ratings, but in terms of the talk around the sport, it has never been this big since Tiger was at his
It's
apex.
like NBA beef right now.
Well, you said it, so think about it. I don't think it's going to translate anything to ratings. Like, I don't think people are going to go watch Live, or any more people are going to watch Waste Management. Like, people are going to watch those things, except for the majors. The majors will get trumped up big because everything's going to be about this. Wouldn't now be the time? And I understand that they all hate each other, but wouldn't you watch a Live versus PGA Tour Ryder Cup event?
Yes.
They all hate each other.
Yeah, no, I would watch that. Yeah.
I mean, that's a win. That's better than, like, making me act like I hate New Zealand in the President's Cup.
Here's the thing about, like, for example, you just mentioned it, Rory and Reed in the finals in Dubai. I like golf. I had no idea until after. You know what I mean?
Did you not know until right now, maybe?
I didn't. I knew that Rory won, right? But I didn't know that there was a tee or whatever. Yeah.
Right. You didn't know all the drama because
No,
you weren't dialed into it. But that's
yeah.
They dislike each other. My prediction will be that at Augusta, you saw that the Live people tried subpoena in Augusta.
Did you see they tried to subpoena Tiger, and security guard Kevin gave him Swift Heisman, which is great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
They tried to
Okay.
subpoena members of Augusta National, right?
Members,
Members of Augusta National, yeah, or whoever.
all of them. Dude, what is this guy doing?
They're out of control. So here's the thing.
He's spending a lot of money.
When we get to this isn't Patrick Reed. This is Live Golf tried to subpoena Augusta.
Got it. Okay.
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to show up at Augusta in August, and all that's going to be talked about is this Live stuff. And Augusta's going to say, "That's it. You're gone. Kindly leave. We're not having this overrun our tournament." They don't answer to anybody. They do anything they want.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is going to happen on that front. Throw them out. And then that's when the Live loyalty will really be put to the test. Browns fans, today through midnight on February 9th, head to the NFL.com/FedEx, the NFL's official Twitter handle, or the NFL mobile app to cast your vote for Nick Chubb as the FedEx Ground Player of the Year. 2022 FedEx Air and Ground Players of the Year will be announced during the NFL Honors on February 9th. Some big-time coaching news in the NFL. We'll get you the details on that coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. You're your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion, Barking Backers, presented by Milkbone, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. It feels like it's really in play that Jim Harbaugh could be the head coach at Denver by the end of the day.
That's
We
what
met with them last week.
That's what
Our
it
guy
sounds like.
Albright is tweeting out polls about khaki pants, juicy fruit, other.
It feels like it is all in play, my friend. All in play. Albright, people give him a tough time, I would say, at times. Albright doesn't typically dabble in theoretical. He usually, if he's going to, like, get you fired up for something, he knows.
Yeah,
But I thought he was already agreed that he was back at Michigan.
he did. He did. It's true.
It reminds me of the scene in the fine film Jerry Maguire when the guy said his word is strong as oak, or his bond is strong as oak.
But how about a contract, Matt? But you have my word, Jerry, and it's as strong as oak.
Yeah, that turns
yeah.
out not.
Kush.
Kush. Yeah, Kush's dad.
Yeah, Kush's dad. It turns out Broncos didn't want to deal with Jerry Maguire.
Turns out
I deal with Denver all the time. You let that snake in, Bob Sugar.
Bob Sugar. So,
Jay Moore, interesting career.
yeah, very odd.
Personal and, you know who he's dating now?
Who?
Jeannie Buss.
Feels appropriate for him. He's
Nikki Cox in her prime.
Yep.
I don't know what career prospects he had, but now Jeannie Buss.
And Kush was Jerry O'Connell,
That's correct.
who is now hosting Pictionary on some network at 3 in the afternoon.
Who was previously the kid in Stand By Me.
Yeah. Yes, indeed he was.
Yeah.
The Miz, our good friend, was on this Pictionary yesterday.
Okay.
I would urge you to seek out the clip. In fact, you don't have to seek it out. I'll show it to you in the next break.
Okay.
He was attempting to draw a scuba diver,
Oh, God.
and what he produced has been the subject of a Netflix faux documentary, a comedic documentary, if you will, many, many years ago, which is one of the funniest TV shows I've ever watched in my entire life. It is unbelievable. He called me literally. I texted him. I was like, what you did on this program
Yeah.
is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, and I can't stop laughing. And he like immediately called me from Raw to talk about it. He was like, I didn't mean to do that. Like, it's all time.
That's amazing.
It's a kid's show.
But not necessarily. And he didn't draw Scuba Steve. No.
If he did, he has a very strange idea of what a scuba diver looks like.
Oh, man. So this Harbaugh stuff's crazy. You're
That's good.
right.
We got a nice little
Harbaugh.
O'Connell, Bob Sugar.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Harbaugh, this was 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, recommitted to Michigan. I'm staying at Michigan.
Yes.
This is the third straight off season where he's done this.
Yes.
One time Michigan pushed him out the door and then said, you can come back, but it'll take a pay cut.
Yes.
Last year, remember, it was a year ago tomorrow when Jim Harbaugh last year was in Minnesota interviewing with Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah on National Signing Day. National Signing Day is tomorrow, okay? It's not as big as it used to be because they have an early signing day too, but it's a big deal. And now it appears that he's going to take the job in Denver. Michigan has put up with all of this. It's a stunning thing.
It's
that they've
wild.
done. That's the
They
most
have
wild.
to be hoping deep down he just takes it and we get rid of this circus.
You guys are both old enough to remember Michigan '89 basketball, right? You remember
Yes.
Michigan in 1989? Glenn Rice,
Is that
Ramil Robinson,
Robinson?
Yeah.
won the
Loy-
national championship.
Loy Vaught?
Loy Vaught, Terry Mills
Terry Mills.
on that team. Yeah, so they played Seton Hall, Ramon Rivas, and Seton Hall.
Was Dave Corzine on that team?
and Andrew Gaze.
Andrew Gaze, that was the center. Yeah.
Andrew Gaze was the shooter from
PJ
Australia.
Carlissimo.
PJ Carlissimo was the coach. Ramil Robinson hit 2 free throws to win it.
Yeah.
You may or may not remember that the head coach of Michigan basketball.
Can I guess?
Sure.
Steve Fisher?
But he didn't start the year as the head coach. Bill Frieder started the year as the head coach of Michigan. Bill Frieder took the job at Arizona State, but thought that he was going to get to coach out the rest of the season in '89. Bo Schembechler said, why don't you pack your bags? We're going to have a Michigan man coach Michigan. So they promoted Steve Fisher, who was an interim coach at the time, and Fisher won the national title. So Bo
Seton
Schembechler,
Hall team beat Duke in the Final
Bo
Four.
Schembechler laid the groundwork for a Michigan man who's going to coach Michigan.
Quinn Snyder got hurt. I've never forgotten.
And for
Never
3,
gotten over
is
it.
that an Allah Abdel Nabi?
Yeah, it was actually.
Allah
That's right.
Abdel Nabi.
So for 3 straight years, he has for 1 year begged the NFL to hire him 3 years ago. Last year had some legitimate interest. This year had quite a bit of legitimate interest. And in all 3 instances went back to Michigan. In all 3 instances says I'm a Michigan man, and now appears to be going to Denver.
2 things. Number 1, the word is not oak. Number 2, it is amazing. And I think I don't think it speaks just to our age. Now, you could say anybody would be able to do what we just did right there. But I do think that the 80s through, I would say 2002-ish was the golden era of college basketball. And the fact that you just said 1989 Michigan, I would have been 11.
Yeah.
And I was able to we were able to come up with basically the starting lineup.
Starting lineup.
The coach.
Yeah.
Like,
That's right.
I couldn't name 4 people on any college basketball team right now. In fact, I'll go so far as say I don't think that I could name 1 person on any college basketball team in the country right now, unless Bronny James is in college, and I don't believe he is.
He's not. No, he's a senior.
So 0.
None.
Not 1. And I could have given you
Of course.
everybody in the Pac-10 and then most of like the ACC and
Yeah.
the Big East. The Big East, like the Big East was a big deal.
Yeah. Several thousand factors led to where you are, how it got to this point. One and done.
For sure.
Kevin Garnett in 95 goes Prop 48, and he can't get grades to go into Michigan, so he's got to go pro. From him, it was Moses Malone to Kevin Garnett, where everybody else went to college. Garnett got trapped in the Prop 48 and ended up having to go straight. And then the next year was Kobe Bryant,
Yeah.
and then Tracy McGrady.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is what it's going to be. Then the NBA steps in. There was the draft that was it was Tyson Chandler,
was a bad
Eddie
one.
Curry, and
Curry.
Kwame Brown. The crazy thing is all those guys played like 10 years in the league, and they all made like tens of millions of
good
dollars.
money. Never
None of them
made
were
an
stars.
impact. Right.
Eddie Curry had one
At
great
moments,
year
yeah.
with the Knicks.
And Chandler was a very good star.
Very good role player.
Yeah.
And
starter.
Kwame was fine. I mean, he's 10 points, 8 rebounds, whatever. But shortly thereafter, the NBA then made him do the 1-in rule, thinking that would help, and it really hasn't. I mean,
They should make him say 3.
the fact that the NBA never jumped into the NFL waters and said
Agreed.
3 years, make them stay, then they would draft ready-made stars and so forth and so on, because that's what it was. The reason we know all those people is because they were all veterans.
But they also played they played together, so they played a beautiful brand of basketball.
Well, it was an
like
actual
real-
team. It
was
wasn't
a
like-
team. It was a team.
If you pull up, we don't need to do a whole lot on this, but I'll just give you this. If you were to pull up the AP College Basketball Top 25 right now and see who's in it, and more especially who's not in it. So, for example, last weekend,
All I know.
Alabama's the number 2 team in the country in basketball.
Okay.
You're probably going to give 100 guesses. You're not going to guess Alabama.
Hold on. Who did? I don't want to confuse them.
Their
with
coach used to
Arkansas.
coach at Buffalo.
Hold on. Latrell Sprewell at Alabama.
Yes,
guy?
correct. Fact.
'Kay.
Yep, nailed it.
All right. I almost went Scotty Thurman, and that's Arkansas with Corliss Williamson.
Yeah,
Nolan
that's right.
Richardson, the coach, defeated Arizona in the Final Four.
Al Dillard would shoot from the snout on the pig,
Yeah.
and going into the Final Four, Jim Nance asked him. He had like four threes in the game to put him to the Final Four, and Jim Nance asked him, "What is your range to Al Dillard?" And Al Dillard goes, "It's in the gym, Jim."
If it's in the gym, Jim.
Yeah,
Yes.
just a little guy who could shoot it.
All right, real quick while
So
you-
here,
okay.
here you go. Here's your thing.
Well, I know who number 1 is.
Go.
Purdue,
They are
because they have like an 8'9"
7'4" kid.
I
who-
watched. Yeah.
Zach Edey.
See, I had no idea what his name was. Happened to be on. I did brunch with Miss K, and it was on in the bar, and I was like, "Who is this giant?" Meanwhile, he like airballed a sky hook from 1
He's not
foot.
skilled.
No, but he is a giant.
Yeah, he had 38 and
Sean
13
Bradley.
in that game.
Against Michigan State.
Yeah.
he scored 38.
38.
Looks like he can't even function.
Well, he's a 3-year guy because he's not athletic enough to be like a pro. Like they don't know what to do with him. So he ended up staying 3 years. So it goes Purdue, Tennessee, Houston, Alabama, Arizona. Those are the top 5.
Bear
So
down.
Arizona is 5th.
Verzago.
Virginia, Kansas State, Kansas, UCLA, Texas. Who is not ranked? Duke, Carolina, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Not ranked.
They were
None
playing
of
and
them
they
are.
were not ranked. I was like, where's their number?
Kansas beat them over the weekend.
Yeah.
None of those teams are ranked. Nobody knows what to do in college basketball because they have these transfer kids and you don't know who's going to get along. It's a mess.
It's a mess.
It's an absolute mess.
It's I feel like any team in the top 25 in the late 80s through the mid 90s would smoke the number one team right now.
Well, I'm not sure that exactly what you said would not also be apply if they played like the Houston Rockets, who all have a bunch of kids.
Like in the NBA?
Yes.
This
the
year?
Houston Rockets are like a bunch of 19-year-old kids.
You want how many people
19,
like to name on
20-year-olds?
the Houston Rockets?
Jalen Green.
James Harden, Yao Ming,
Sixers.
Tracy McGrady,
Retired.
Sam Cassell, Hakeem Olajuwon.
A little bit sensitive about his look, Sam Cassell is.
Listen, you got to just own it
Yeah,
at
he
that
was.
point. There was
He's a little sensitive.
There was a man in Philadelphia who was celebrating that had an interesting look, and he just owned it, and I applaud him for his courage
You have
to be
do that.
comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, you got to at some point. As we go around the NFL, 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy reportedly has a torn UCL in the right elbow.
That's a big deal,
It's a
by the
very
way.
big deal, yeah.
Like, it's actually kind of amazing now that he threw 2-yard passes.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, I was having a conversation this morning, and the conversation was going along the ways of, like, well, like the praise of the Eagles. And I'm like, okay, you are aware that the 49ers could not throw the ball down the field.
No.
They're like, well, they should have come up with something. I said, like, on the fly, you want them to install an offense in the middle of the third quarter without a quarterback. We live in the real world, man.
Did you drop the 100 people in the crowd? If not 1,000, would have given them a better chance to win?
I used 50 because I thought 100 or 1,000 was a little bit aggressive, but I think 50 would have
How did
I think
Thing or
they're
Not a
50.
Thing go, by the way?
thrived.
I
Probably
bet.
going to be sponsored by the end of the day.
Wouldn't shock me if it is already.
Mark Maskey with this from the Washington Post. The Chiefs-Bengals meeting in the AFC Championship game drew an average of 53.1 million viewers. That's up 11% from last year's AFC title game, the most watched show on TV since the Super Bowl from a year ago. Up 11%. Last year it was the early game, though, so that's
Yep.
probably contributes to the 11%. The other thing that contributes to the 11% growth and the 53 million is that the two biggest stars in the NFL right now are Burrow and Mahomes.
And we're in it, yeah. And I think even just as amazing as, and I don't know if this is
It was
gonna be the
close
next
game,
sentence you're
too.
going to read, was that the Niners-Eagles did 47
Yeah, and it was over by
early. So, like,
Yeah.
if that game had been close, I wonder what that would have done. That
Yeah.
feels like it would have been a
monster. Yeah,
I mean, the fact is, I'm no mathematician, but 47 plus 53 means 100 million
yeah.
people.
How many
I know
were
they're not unique, but
right? I
if you
just wonder
add it
how
up-
many watched both. If around 50 million watched, the average,
I don't know if it's me getting old,
did
but
like 35 million watch
yeah,
all of it?
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Maybe it's 'cause I'm getting old. Like, to sit and watch
can't do it.
6 hours straight of football is a lot.
I can't
to
do it.
do.
I can't
Like,
do it.
that's why I think they should go to AFC Saturday, NFC Sunday, or whatever.
Whatever,
They feel like.
pick it. Rotate 'em. I don't
Rotate it
care.
every year.
Yeah.
But one game each day would be way more fun and way easier to get like
And
totally
it'd be a
locked
bigger.
in.
So Breer was saying this morning that the reason I don't want to do that is because Sunday rate's better than Saturday. I got to be honest with you. NFL's impervious.
Yeah.
The NFL on a Saturday would do
Yes,
50 million
on a
in its
Saturday
sleep.
night.
Yes.
Saturday night would do 50 million in
No
its sleep.
doubt.
There's no question
Yeah, no
about
doubt.
it.
Let's
I
not be,
don't-
let's not be, let's
Let,
not be
let's
crazy.
let's not be ridiculous about it. Like, it's for sure. That's why a lot of times this will happen during the season. So the way I consume our games when I don't go is I watch it on primary screen and I have red zone on secondary screen. So that's how I view the NFL in the 1 to 4 o'clock
Yep.
hour. When that's done, I'm done. I don't watch. I can't do 405. I'm not running that right back. So you guys usually get home and then you guys are into the 405s.
I get like the second half
right
or the fourth
you
quarter.
Get, you get that
and then I
part
get
of the
last game,
405s, and then you get the Sunday night game.
which I'm usually done with by halftime.
Right.
Unless it's super
Really
compelling.
great. Yeah. So like my NFL experience ends typically in terms of all in at 4 o'clock. That's the way that, because you can't sit there and watch it nonstop like that. It just seems like such a no-brainer. Mike Florio regarding the Derek Carr situation. The Raiders have 16 days to figure out a potential trade for Derek Carr before the – listen, he controls all of this. I don't even
He
need to
should
read
tell him to-
anymore.
In the
Kick
words of my
rocks.
dad, go get.
Yeah.
That's a not Pedro tell him.
Come on, man.
Yeah, like
Scratch me my check,
It
dude.
was just weird. I'm like, where? I forgot that this is coming up rather quickly.
yes, that's what I said. They have yes. They handled that so poorly. They could have given him the dignity of playing out the season.
Of course.
Been cool with it, and said they bench him because they're afraid if he got hurt, then they'd be on the hook. And now they're going to be on the hook. And he absolutely, he should never, ever, 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 he should tell any team that is possibly
will
out there.
not.
I won't. They have to cut me. Don't trade for me.
Yeah.
They must cut me.
And by the way, why would he want to limit the team he's
I don't
going
want you to give up assets
Don't
to get
give
me.
up anything.
They're cutting me. They have no choice.
Yeah. It's crazy. How stupid.
What an idiot. Bunch of
bozos.
bunch of bozos. By the way, you mentioned Moses Malone earlier, and I laughed. So my buddy Vince Condi, he played at Cuesta in the San Luis Obispo area, and then played at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo hoops. And his coach was this guy named Rusty, who was like 7'3", and he would talk kind of funny, like, what's the deal? So Rusty was a really good college player. I want to say like maybe Oregon.
Okay.
And was going to go pro, but like back then, every team just kind of drafted for what they needed. Like if
you drafted a center, that's if you watch the Showtime Lakers series, like that's remember they're like, we don't need a point guard, we have Norm Nixon.
Right.
Draft Sidney Moncrief, you idiots.
No, but we needed a center, so we drafted center.
Yeah.
Well, that year going into it, I guess there was only one center that was like really needed. Moses Malone.
Yeah.
So he would always tell us a story like, I'd be in the NBA, but the year I was going out, they only need one center. And this kid comes out, Moses Malone. Moses Malone. Huh? What's the deal? Moses Malone. And so that's why he claims that he's not in the NBA.
How was that program? Did he run a good program?
He did run a good program.
Nice.
An interesting character, Rusty.
Yeah, it certainly was.
Huh? What's the deal?
From a business of football standpoint, NFL informed teams yesterday salary cap 224.8. That's up from 208.2.
Oh, baby.
Franchise tag numbers were issued as well. The Bears are among the big winners. They'll have $90 million in cap space to spend from the AFC North. The Bengals at 43, Baltimore 26, Steelers at just over $1 million. But we know how all this goes.
If they're in on Fields, they can surround him with incredible talent, trade the number 1 pick back to 4, still get the guy that they would have drafted at 1 most likely, and a bevy of picks to be good, set up to be really good for a long, long time. If they're out on Fields, you could probably trade Fields to somebody, get a decent haul, not as good as the number 1 overall pick.
Right.
Select your quarterback, and you have all kinds of assets to surround him with. Like they're in a very, very good position. They could get.
They've never been in a good position as a franchise ever, so I'm sure they'll drop the ball on this. But
they could be. They could get very good very quickly.
They should.
They should.
They should. Which would you do?
I see Fields through the fantasy football lens.
Right.
I will say when I got a chance to watch a couple of his games, like if you said to me he's got to throw the ball 30 times a game, I don't feel great about that.
Yeah, he's reverted from his time at Ohio State.
Not very accurate, doesn't really see the field. So if you feel like that's part of it would be the scheme or the lack of, weaponry around him and that, you can work with that, that's one thing. If you feel like that's not going to get any better and all he can do is run, and when he's already got hurt this year, even though he's a big guy, then I would say let me get somebody who I really feel like can throw the football.
Yeah. I think they'll do the latter. I think it's more likely they trade Fields.
Yeah.
And keep one, provided they think that Bryce Young can drive the ball in Chicago.
Well, if they build
because
a dome,
Fields has the arm.
maybe they're going to build a dome very quickly.
Well, they are building a dome, but not.
That's a good 8 years
Probably
out,
take
probably.
6, 7, 8 years before that thing's done. So it'd be like halfway through Young's career, provided he gets there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could build a. The thing is, there's no scenario where Justin Fields isn't more accurate and a better thrower of the football than Jalen Hurts. Just doesn't exist.
I mean, right now he's not.
He's not. But what happened?
Right. Fair.
Okay.
It's bad coaching. Look.
Of course. But
David Carr was David Carr, not Derek. David.
Oh, he's one of the greatest what ifs.
Should have been a stud.
Our guy Tim Couch too.
Should have been a stud. Beaten.
Yeah.
Mentally spent. Coaches in and out. Systems. Can't do it.
Cooked him. Yeah, I just feel like if with Fields in Chicago, if you honestly, what they should have done is just what will it take Howie Roseman? What do you want? $15 million a year to run this thing? Like that's what you should do. Do that. Have him procure the talent and do it that way.
Even Philly. I don't think there's
everybody's got a number. Everybody's got a number.
How deep are Jeff Lurie's pockets?
Well, deep. But I mean, he would have to match.
Yeah.
There's always an ego that comes with that. But like what Epstein did with the Red Sox, and he went to the Cubs.
Theo.
Like that should be.
Yeah.
That's what Howie should do. He should just go to places, get him Super Bowls. Haven't won one, I'll put together a Super Bowl roster. Give me 4 years. That's
Yeah.
what Epstein did. You think about it, that dude did it with the Red Sox and the Cubs. Both.
Yeah.
Where's he now?
I don't know.
He's working in professional sports.
Looking.
Yeah, he's working in professional sports.
Currently
Sure of that.
works for MLB as a consultant. Boy, that's a nice payday, probably.
Dude, he should be a first ballot Cooperstown Hall of Famer. There are no two streaks that are more infamous in our lifetime than Cubs and Red Sox. None.
Dude's 49 years old.
Of course.
2 9-year runs. One with the Red Sox, one
Yeah.
with the Cubs.
Yeah.
Is he a Hall of Famer? Absolutely.
On
Yeah.
the first ballot.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's crazy.
He won twice with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Once with the Cubs.
Yeah. All right. Coming up next, some of the sound bites and some of the things that caught our attention from the championship weekend. We'll have that for you coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Calendars Face Up on the Lake presented by Meyer, first major outdoor hockey game at First Energy. It's February 18th, just a couple of weeks away. The Bucks and the Wolverines at First Energy. Tickets on sale now, starting at $12. For more information, visit firstenergystadium.com/faceoff or call 440-891-5250. Time to hear some of the sounds from championship weekend. Let's start with the final call of the Eagles and Niners as heard on Sports Radio 94 WIP in Philadelphia.
The Philadelphia Eagles have won the NFC Championship 4-3-2-1 by the final score. The Eagles 31, the 49ers 7. Attention, air traffic control. A flock of Eagles is heading to Arizona.
That guy's got a voice. Who's that guy?
Merrill Reese.
Merrill Reese. I
He
like
is
that
80.
guy.
He's been the voice
That's
of
right.
the Eagles since
You could
77.
tell.
He's weird. He's strange.
He sounds fantastic. Am I on? No.
You're not on.
Hello?
Now you are.
I mean,
that
I've
is
been
that
taking
is
thing
so
for
great.
He's
Hold on.
That guy's great.
He is
Two things. Don't let him ever be a WWE referee. That was a very fast count. 4-3-2-1. That
Yeah.
felt very, very
Take your
quick.
time, yeah.
And I am curious, what were the other outtakes? What were the other ideas he had for
Other
his
than
send-off?
air traffic control.
Air traffic control. A flock of Eagles is headed to Arizona. Like, what didn't make the cut if that's where we
That's
went?
where we landed.
Yeah, curious.
Is that all scripted?
I would.
Like Nance's are for sure in the Final Four. Like he's got those lined out at the end that he's going to do. Like does Jimmy, or is Jimmy flying on the seat of his
No.
pants on that?
I think yes and no. I think he thinks about it because he
I
definitely.
think he thinks about it. I don't know if Nance is scripted. at
Hold
the
on a
end.
second. If that wasn't scripted, I don't know which is better or worse.
Yeah.
For that one to have been scripted or for that to have been off the cuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty funny. It was. Can I hear it again? Can I hear that again, please?
The Philadelphia Eagles have won the NFC Championship 4-3-2-1 by the final score. The Eagles 31, the 49ers 7. Attention, air traffic control. A flock of Eagles is heading to Arizona.
You know what it's got a little of? It's got a little of Farrell doing Harry Carey.
It does have a little bit of that. It also sounded like.
Hey, you know,
It also
a
sounded.
Budweiser.
Hey,
There's a lot of,
money.
Yeah.
little bit of that, isn't there? To that.
It also sounded like the guy who was reading
4, 3, 2, 1.
the little orphan Annie thing in the
Attention.
Christmas story.
I need another beer.
He's great though. I mean, that guy,
He was
like that
pretty
guy.
happy to give that. That felt like something.
Yeah, I think
that
he was
had-
ready. He was prepared.
Yeah.
You know, this will be the opposite end of the spectrum.
Get ready here.
This will be fun. This is the Bengals Radio Network. These guys are great, but it's a specific taste. This is Burrow to Higgins on the touchdown.
Burrow looking at the defense. Two deep safeties for KC. Shotgun snap to Joe. He throws it down the left sideline. A leaping catch for a touchdown. T. Higgins, full grown man.
I always feel
Hold
like
on.
when I listen to them, he knows he's going to be interrupted, so he's trying to talk faster so that he can get it in
Yep.
before the
It
interruption
gets so
takes
much
All right,
place.
I
better
need
as
that
we
one
go
again.
through
I need
these
that
here,
one again.
too.
I need that one again. Hold on.
Burrow looking at the defense. Two deep safeties for KC. Shotgun snap to Joe. He throws it down the left sideline. A leaping catch for a touchdown. T. Higgins, full grown man.
Okay.
Full
this-
thrown man? Was that
Full
the-
grown. Full grown.
Full
man.
grown man. Okay.
So this is a 15-second clip.
Yeah.
Yes.
As people who have watched our like big calls that they post on
Yeah,
after
yeah.
the games, like there could go 30 seconds before I even make a begin to make a sound.
Right, right.
And a 15-second clip that included the setup, two deep safeties, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 down the left side, and ended with full-grown man uninterrupted. You got an oh-ho, baby, yeah, and woo.
All that got in there.
That's about right.
That's unbelievable.
And if you do any of
Oh
those in
my
a game, I will kill you on camera in the booth.
Here is the next. This will be the other side of the spectrum. This is the Bengals Radio Network on the Joseph Asai Roughing of Mahomes.
Two receivers out to each side. Mahomes with a deep drop. Now moving in the pocket. Running to the right and running well. He's at the 50. He's trying to run for the first down. He goes out of bounds. And the Bengals push him after he was out of bounds. Multiple flags are going to tack 15 yards onto this play. 8 seconds left in regulation.
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of funny,
want
and
it
it
again?
adds to the moment a little bit
Right
right
You guys
there.
want it again?
Yeah, give me that
play
again.
that again.
Two receivers out to each side. Mahomes with a deep drop. Now moving in the pocket. Running to the right and running well. He's at the 50. He's trying to run for the first down. He goes out of bounds. And the Bengals push him after he was out of bounds. Multiple flags are going to tack 15 yards onto this play. 8 seconds left in regulation.
All right, so you got to finish.
Yep.
And no, in that one.
All right. Here's
Like, hold on, Gibbe.
yeah.
Like the no-nos are pretty funny. Like
The
that's
no-yos are very
Oh.
funny.
like that's
Yeah.
a real moment. That to me is not nearly as bad as the oh baby, yeah, woo. In
Here's
the touchdown. Yeah.
Here's the Chiefs' game-winning field goal from the Kansas City side on 106.5 The Wolf out of Kansas City.
Harrison Butker, the biggest kick of his Chiefs' life. Placement is down. Butker's kick is up. The spinning kick high, floating in the air, and it is good! 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 Did Cincinnati call timeout? They did not! They did not! They did not! It's a field goal from 45 yards out by Harrison Butker with 3 seconds to go in regulation.
Okay.
One
Mitch
voice.
Holthus.
24 seconds.
Yep.
That would be
now we're gonna see it from the other side.
that would be ours.
Now we're gonna hear it from the other side.
Yeah.
This is the Bengals radio network on the game-winning call.
Butker is ready. Now the snap, the placement, the kick is up, and it is good. 3 seconds remaining, and the Kansas City Chiefs have a 3-point lead, 23-20.
Like that when he ruined the call.
He ruined the ball.
It doesn't matter what the
The
call
no-no
is.
was pretty good.
He's gonna ruin it.
He's ruined it.
He's-
his,
all of them.
who's the which one is Lapham the play-by-play or is Lapham the one interjecting?
Dan Horde is the play-by-play.
Dan Horde and Lapham jumps in.
Like at
Yes.
some point, like the Chiefs one was a professional broadcast.
Yeah.
That one guy got to do everything, and maybe the other guy said
How
something
can you
afterwards.
like if
the
you
Chiefs
are
bad.
Dan Horde, how are you like? Really? Can I have one? Can I do the job once?
Well, the
Like
thing about the
last
T
year when they
Higgins
went
one,
to the Super Bowl, like
the T
No,
Higgins
people
one,
in Cincinnati love him.
the
Yeah.
T
They
love
Higgins
it.
one's a third quarter touchdown.
Yeah, right.
Like to me, the Joseph Osai one is the one that makes the most sense. Like saying finish while the ball snapped, a little bit wild, but the no while like because the game's over and you realize it, like that's real emotion.
These guys have nothing on Paul Keels and Jim Lachey, though. Jim Lachey will cut in at a hair's notice.
I think
No
this
doubt
is.
about
I
that.
think this is more egregious than Lachey.
Oh, this
well,
is more
Lachey's-
egregious.
This is more
Lachey's
egregious.
ruined a couple national championship
Yes,
calls.
he has.
He does jump in, but I
I
don't
mean,
know.
there's a reason why we call it. I tell Zagura, don't Lachey Jim Donovan.
This
don't.
This is
Did it
every
once.
call, though. I mean,
No,
it's
this is every call.
one is
Correct.
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then post game, we had a couple of WWE moments from Travis Kelce.
I couldn't love him anymore.
I couldn't either. This is him on the comments on the whole Burrowhead stuff from last week.
Just want to thank God, man.
Woo! Burrow had my ass! Woo! It's Mahomes' house!
And then one
Hold on,
more.
the best was though Mahomes doing the interview. You could see Mahomes was like,
okay.
what's gonna happen here? Like this, come on.
Just get me through this.
Yeah.
Kelsey also won at the Cincinnati Mayor.
How about this beautiful trophy? Huh? Hey, I got some wise words for that Cincinnati mayor. Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni. You gotta fight for your
Oh, the
right.
Beasties.
He does the Rock followed by the Beastie Boys.
That's
a
pretty good.
pretty elite
That's
one
an
too.
elite.
Yeah. What are you gonna
Elite
do?
job all the way through on that side of it. It was interesting though because like the tone, and I understand the celebration of all, but like it was 23-20. Burrow had the ball with over 2 minutes and timeouts. I mean, Cincinnati blew it.
Totally.
It's not like it was 38-17 and you smoked Cincinnati. You
Yeah.
didn't. It took every single thing going your way in the last quarter and Cincinnati blowing it on the last drive to be able to get it done. The other thing I would say to that, it's not like Burrow was acting like calling it Burrowhead or any of the Bengals.
No, the
like
Bengals
Jamar
were.
Chase and those guys weren't.
No, it was the
the
defense.
Clowns. Yeah. Eli Apple and those guys. But yeah, that was pretty good. I tell you what, this wouldn't be a bad. It would take more work than more work. But like, it would be fun to do this like on a Tuesday during the season.
Get the best
Like
Bengals calls.
Well, or even best NFL calls of the weekend.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Like, I think that would
could
be really funny.
I could totally do that.
It would be really fun to have some fun with the play-by-play around the league about some of the stuff we hear, because
Well, I
the
think
Bengals stuff is amazing.
It'd be fun to do if we do like a team review of every
Paul
team.
Allen
get
in
us through
Minnesota?
This. We could get their best radio
calls.
Yeah, of the
Yeah.
year.
No, that's I think
We
that's
could do
very
that.
funny. I think that's very funny. Oh no, no!
Ah, no.
Like if you're Horde, do you ever get to do it?
Oh,
Never.
baby. Yeah. Woo.
Never. Oh my goodness. Final hour here on a Tuesday. Up next, we'll go the interior of the offensive line. We're in pretty good shape there. We'll get to that with one big question mark, of course. We'll get to that coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
is such a tough position because when you keep 5 guys on the field, it's a huge advantage for you. But when you lose a guy, you got to be ready for the next man up. And I think those guys that have come in have really done an admirable job.
We have a great room here. You know, Joel, obviously, Wyatt, Dunn, like literally everybody.
You know, we have multiple players that can play at a very high level, which makes our job easier. You know, it's an absolute blessing to have those guys behind you. But, you know, we got to do our job. And as an offensive line, we know we take pride in being able to put, you know, rushing yards on the ground and be able to play complementary football.
Again, I can't thank the guys around me enough. They're really, really good and help me out, make sure all the calls are right and all that stuff. That just a ton of great communication with the whole offensive line. So it makes it a lot easier for me.
Being only 5 years in the NFL, experience is a lot. The time you spend next to someone, that chemistry you grow obviously means a lot. Poe has stepped up. Poe's a great player. He's a great leader in that inside. Joel and I, we're playing, ups and downs. We got to continue to get better.
A little banged up throughout the year, and that was something that we had to try and overcome. I do think Coach Callahan does a good job of getting guys ready to play. It's something we obviously want to be healthy because I think when we have our 5 guys out there and we're healthy, we can be a pretty dang good O-line.
I know that we've advanced our techniques. We're trying to build a leverage system, that's more advanced than more teams. We're just a little
back in 15
wrong.
Joel, no question. Man, he's got a center brain, he's got tackle feet, and he's got guard strength. So he's like the perfect combination.
I know it wasn't what we wanted. We want to be in the playoffs when we compete for Super Bowls, but we appreciate the support and just know we're doing everything to get right for next year.
All right, off-season positional breakdown. Centers on the centers and the offensive guards. Joel Bitonio on the roster, elected to the Pro Bowl for the 5th time in his career. First-team All-Pro. It's his 5th total All-Pro nod. Second first-team selection, 3 second-team selections. That is inching closer to gold jacket stuff.
He's well on.
He's building
building the resume.
Yeah, the house is the foundation is up.
Yeah.
On that. Wyatt Teller, Pro Bowl for the 2nd straight season. Drew Forbes on the roster as well. Free agents, Ethan Posick, Froholt, as well as Michael Dunn. We have Nick Harris, who's injured at the start of camp. So that's where we start on the offensive line. In the middle of our offensive line, one of the strengths of our team through the last few years.
Oh, yeah. It's probably one of the best interiors, certainly when you had J.C. Tretter in there. And then the way Ethan Posick played earlier this year, he's Pro Football Focus's number 3 center while he was healthy. So, yeah, it's one of the best interiors in the NFL. The question, remains, what do you do at center? Do you bring Ethan Posick back? Nick Harris? What I would say is with Bill Callahan here, and as long as he is here, you can take on reclamation projects. Ethan Posick was a 2nd-round pick who was jettisoned out of, Seattle for not being productive and comes here and plays the best season of his career. So you have a coach who has the ability to maximize whatever talent you give him. I do think you still invest there. Now you're going to get Nick Harris back, who had beaten out Posick, to be honest, and was going to be your starting center. He's here every day working hard. So
how is he?
He's
Nick?
good. His spirits are great.
Spirits are good.
Yeah.
I love that guy, man.
Very nice guy, and I think he'll have an opportunity next year. But you'll see what they do with Posick. If they draft somebody, if they sign, I think they'll you bring in another cheap veteran and in the interior, and you're in good shape there. Drew Forbes is a guy that they like the way that he developed this year, so he's a guy who can be on the inside. Really, just the center position is a little question. My guess is you'll bring Michael Dunn back, and he can start at guard for you, and you're pretty set there. You're in a good spot.
Yeah, it's one of the strengths of the football team, certainly, and we've invested a lot in this part with the contracts for Wyatt and for Joel. So this is something that there's a lot of money in.
Which is why it feels like center is going to be one of those positions where, yes, you want to invest in it, but your ideal scenario is to be, average or below average in your investment, but getting above average play given how good the supporting cast is. You've got the investment in everywhere else and how good the coach is, right? So I think that you are in a very, very good spot there.
Gibby wants one word to describe the Browns' interior offensive line this past season.
I thought it was excellent. I thought it was sturdy. I thought it was stout. It's unfortunate, again, what happened. Froholt came in and I thought played well, but obviously there was a drop-off from Froholt, from Ethan Posick to Froholt. A little bit snake-bitten, I would say, in the sense of, the injuries at that center position, given that Nick Harris missed as well and you were down to your 3rd center and really your 4th because Dunn won that backup center job. My guess is Dunn comes back. You got Harris, you have Dunn, you'd have Bitonio, Teller, Forbes. You'd be pretty good on the interior right there. If you can get Posick back on a deal that makes sense for him and for you, I think you would do it. If not, it feels like you might not be able to do it because you can't. I don't know that you can dedicate a ton of resources to that position financially right now.
Nor should you.
No, and you might draft somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Gibby's last question: can Nick Harris be the guy at center for this team going forward? You hope.
You hope.
Yeah, but I mean, this is his third year or fourth year in the operation.
So he was drafted the year that we drafted Grant Delpit. So this will be his fourth season. This is last year of his rookie contract. So obviously he would love to get to start.
Yeah, and get a chance to be the guy. We did the tackle positions yesterday. Did tackle yesterday. Did offensive guards. Did centers today. As you look at this offensive line, it's hard to argue that it's in anything other than its prime, but it's also probably in the back end of its prime. It is getting a little long in the tooth. When you think about now, Jack just re-signed recently, and Joel too. But I mean, they are in the smack. This offensive line as a collective is in the smack dab in its prime.
Yeah, and that's the strength of this team. You send 4 guys to the Pro Bowl. 2 of them are in this position group.
Yeah,
so you're good spot here. It's obviously very, very important. I think that if you wish that you could have. Maybe Post was brought in on a longer deal. You just didn't know what you were going to get.
No.
So he did a great job. Now, he didn't finish the season, so maybe the rate stays low, and I think he wants to be here. I think sometimes people understand the grass isn't greener for me elsewhere. This is where I will have an opportunity to be the best, and then maybe at some point I can take that leap. As a center, you can play in this league for a very, very long time to take that leap to go really try to chase dollars. But I think, Ethan Posick probably wants to build his resume. He says he wants to be back, and now it's a matter of can they work that out.
Yeah, and I think you look at the culture of offensive line here from Schwartz and Mack and Thomas to Batonio and Teller and Conklin. And that there's been a lineage of good offensive line play here going back a decade.
For a long time.
So
unfortunately, it just hasn't been a part of wins. And in other places, it has been. It just hasn't translated to that here.
Well, it's because it can only do so much.
It can only do so much. Yep.
It's like anytime you have this conversation about the importance of offensive line play, it's one of the things. Do you get this all the time? Like, people constantly come up to me talking about our offensive line as if it's not great. Like, we got to get better on the offense. We got to draft offensive linemen. I'm like, no, are you kidding? Like, people did that with the Bengals with Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase. It's like, no, don't do that. I mean, name the offensive lineman that played in front of Brady.
Yeah.
Like, how many people remember Jeff Saturday, if not for him just recently being rehired to coach the team, and then that image of Manning, that video of Manning saying, "I'll call the plays, Jeff. I'll call them," and he's yelling at him. I mean, that's it. You got to have that guy.
Got to have that guy.
Bro, who was playing offensive line for the Bengals Sunday?
Not great.
Doesn't matter.
Right. Well, and in that game, the pressure up front certainly did hurt them. But
last year they had one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and they're 30 yards from a game-winning kick to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's there.
Yep.
So we're lucky that we have this, but it's the other things. The one thing I am curious about is a full off season with a Deshaun Watson offense, because there were some growing pains going from a guy like Jacoby who would hang around, stay in the pocket, to a guy like Deshaun who isn't necessarily always a one read and rip, but likes to be a little bit more of a freelancer.
Yeah,
and we picked up some holdings. We got to get that sorted out.
Yeah, want to be a little bit more, take those layups, and then make big plays when the situation calls for it.
Yeah, there were some untimely holding penalties,
no doubt,
as it went along that have got to be cleaned up. Certainly.
Yeah.
We'll continue with the positional previews tomorrow. Coming up next, a couple other things around the league, including news on a quarterback in our division. We'll have that for you coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Trucker motorcycle accident caused you injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Oaks, proud partner of your Cleveland Browns, reports today that the Baltimore Ravens will franchise Lamar Jackson. So no surprise on that side of things. It doesn't mean he won't be traded.
He has to sign it.
He has to sign it. Yeah.
He has to sign it.
Yeah.
And that would be 32 fully guaranteed, which is, I'm guessing, below what he would want.
Significantly so. Yeah.
So
the Bengals talked about this a little bit yesterday. Zach Taylor talked about wanting to get the Burrow done,
which I felt
want
was
to get
like,
that thing done. Like, let's get it done. He's our whole operation. I think everybody knows it.
Still odd a little bit for a coach to say that.
He's the frontward face. Him and Burrow are the faces of the organization, though.
Yeah.
Like Mike Brown talks once a year.
Yeah.
With the turtle soup at the beginning of the year. I mean, that's it. You don't get. And Tobin, I don't know that Tobin talks ever, does he?
Not that
I'm pretty sure Tobin has to talk at the combine.
Yeah, he would have to do that. But I mean, it's not like he's out there.
No.
So here's the needle that. So two things on this. It always bothers me when people say, Burrow's got to do what's right by the team, and like team friendly it. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have to do that.
No, and
there's a market value.
He's not going to do that.
And he's at the top of the market, and he is due that. And everybody in this league makes a lot of money. The quarterback's the most important position. He's allowed for a lot of what's happened down there already, and he does not have to take a discount in any way. There's a lot of ways to do this. So the most recent contracts to go over, obviously Deshaun's at $230 fully, is at the top of that. Patrick Mahomes is $10,450, and I want to say he's $140 guaranteed was Mahomes. The Allen contract was $8. I think it's $265 with $160 guaranteed. The one that's wild is the Kyler one, which is $230.5. So he wanted the overall number over Deshaun. He did it during the season last year, $230.5, and it's $190 guaranteed,
which is nuts,
which is crazy.
And they thought they had to put in a clause that said he
would actually try.
Yeah, pay attention, work.
Yeah.
So according to Sport Track, this is the 2023 quarterback cap hit rankings.
Yeah.
Deshaun number 1 at 54.9.
Right.
Dak Prescott 49.1.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes is at 46.7. I would almost say it's a bargain.
You would say it is.
Josh Allen's at 39.7. That's a bigger bargain. Tannehill at 36.6. Cousins, now this is their cap hit, so I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Like Tannehill could be cut.
Yeah. Cousins is at 36.25. Matt Ryan, 35.2.
Yeah, see, I don't think it'll have, in Cincinnati, it's not going to have anything to do with the yearly. It's going to be how much can they put in escrow to do the guarantee.
Yeah, they're $44 million under the cap. So how do you make that money move around?
Well, and they're in a fine place now, but they'll have hard decisions to make because Higgins is up now. Chase is still a year away before you have to do that one. But the Burrow one can be done now, and I think that they would probably want to get it done. I know Joe wants to be there. They obviously want him there. And so it's just a matter of what's the number. But as I outlined in those guaranteed money that had been given out from quarterbacks in the last 4 or 5 years, it's a wide discrepancy.
I also think if you're white, you have the known commodity. Sign him now because a year and a half from now, he might be the 5th best contract. Like the way the market's going.
I'm sure
up.
Cincinnati would like to do 10 years, $460 million.
Yeah,
for him, they'd do that tomorrow.
Sure,
Burrow's not going to do that.
It depends on the guarantees and what they have.
Yeah,
because that escrow rule.
That's what I just said.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like they've got to put that money in escrow to be able to do that.
And for Chase
on the guarantee, right?
Chase's
so
guarantee.
How much liquid do they have to put into escrow to handle it? Not much.
Why don't they just get rid of that rule?
It's a stupid rule.
They don't.
All these franchises are worth multiple $1 billion
and making money hand over fist.
Right.
Like
silly.
Who cares? They're going to pay these contracts.
Yeah. Right. Isn't that an old?
It's like real old.
It's a Modell rule, though, isn't it?
It's real old.
because this was an issue for him with paying out the bonuses with Andre Rison.
Bad Moon Rising.
Right. So, I mean, that could have something to do with it. But that's the tricky thing is if you do 10,460 for Burrow and you make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL in total contract, but do you have $200 million that you can put in escrow for a guarantee?
Again, they should get rid of it. At the
I
owners'
agree,
meetings.
but they don't. Like, if they don't, then this is where you're at.
Do you believe the reason that rule has not been done away with is that the very liquid owners enjoy that is a handicap on the owners that are not as liquid as they are?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you're going to have the Lamar. Just think about it. We had all the stuff last year at the quarterback position with Russ. We thought it was going to be with Rodgers. Didn't end up being. And you think about what happened with those. We've had Stafford move 2 years ago. You're going to have Derek Carr on. Not that he's on that level, but you're going to have Derek Carr move this year. Garoppolo's going to move this year. Brady could move this year. Rodgers could move again this year. Who knows what's going to happen at the top of the draft with Fields? Lamar could be moving this year. That's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of
quarterback carousel.
volatility in the market, which is good for the sport because it's interesting. But how Burrow handles this will be really fascinating, and it's not fair for it to be on him to do.
No,
anything.
and nor should he. He should do
should
what
be
is the best
guilted
thing
into
for
it.
him.
No.
The value that he's bringing to that city and that franchise.
It's Manning to Indy.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Like, if they want to build a dome, do it now.
It's Mahomes to Kansas City.
Yeah, do it. It's do a building. It changes everything.
Yeah.
It's a total game changer in every way, shape, or form. Gibby wants to know, do we agree with the following or disagree with the following continuing in 23? Teams investing heavily in the offensive line. I would disagree.
So, I mean, he's pointing out a few teams. The Bengals, led the league in sacks taken in 2021. They went out and spent money on Collins, Karras, and Kappa. Now, they didn't get the benefit of those guys playing. They also used, a pick on a fourth rounder. They led the league in sacks last year, and they went to the Super Bowl, and they were a couple plays away from winning it.
Yeah.
This year, they did that, and they didn't go to the Super Bowl. They were still very, very good, but okay.
The ball's coming out so fast in the league right now
that
it's just not as important as it was 20 years ago.
I think you need to be competent, but the notion you need to be the best is you don't need to be the best offensive line.
Now, you could argue Philly is the best, and they're in the Super Bowl, but you also would acknowledge that Jalen Hurts is not Joe Burrow.
Correct.
So that's part of it. When in doubt, take a flyer on a quarterback.
Yeah, of course.
Always. That goes all the way back to Elliott's dad, Ron Wolf, when he was running the Packers.
Yeah.
That's how they ended up with Brunell and Flynn and all those guys through the years that ended up in Green Bay, because every time that there was an opportunity, they take one.
Don Majkowski.
Oh,
the
God.
Magic
From
Man.
Lynn Dickey to Don Majkowski to Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Pretty good.
By the way, Aaron Rodgers on McAfee just moments ago.
He's still doing it?
It sounds like there's already conversations going on that aren't involving me, which are interesting. Rodgers said he's still taking his time, but I'm not part of those conversations right now. Here we go. We're just going to throw a little gasoline.
He loves it, doesn't he?
He does. No one's talking about me.
Yeah. He's a different dude, man. Very different. Hoff, when we had Hoff on, said that they're all fatigued. They're done, right? People in Wisconsin are like, fine, go.
Yeah, do whatever you want to do. We've had enough.
Last trend here to agree or disagree, be aggressive.
So I think when it makes sense, to me, when you're talking about trading a first-round pick for A.J. Brown, trading draft picks for known commodities at or below their market value, because it was a steal, whatever that full compensation was. The 5th and the 6th for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, that was a steal. What we did for Amari, that was a steal. Proven commodities. I'll go back to when the Ravens got Anquan Boldin, I want to say from the Niners, for like a 6th-round pick. Like when you can get proven commodities for picks that have a 30% chance or better of hitting, when you're a team that's contending, do it. I totally agree with that philosophy.
Yeah, I think most people would. It's what we tried to do with Odell. I mean, that was the operation, was you get Odell, you play him with Jarvis, and you have Baker, and away you go. Didn't work out that way, but that's what you're trying to do. And you can't control injuries or any of that. But, yeah, I do think that there is, I think the NFL properly values the draft overvalues individual picks in the draft.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yep. Well, you need to have the draft so that you are able to support your team.
Correct.
That is the lifeblood of your team, is the below market value elite players you can have while they're on their rookie contracts. And especially with a quarterback, it obviously becomes much more difficult when you don't have a quarterback in the rookie deal. But then at the same time, Mahomes has gone to the AFC Championship game every single year. Brady's not on a rookie deal. Rodgers isn't on a rookie deal. Josh Allen's not on a rookie
Mannings
deal.
were always
and they're able
compensated
to
handsomely.
They're able to do
it's
it.
all fine.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do a little higher, lower, better, or worse coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, time for a little higher, lower, better, worse, presented by Keep It Fun Ohio from the Ohio Lottery, offering easy ways to keep gambling fun. Hello, Gibby. No mic.
Hi,
Gibby.
boys.
Oh,
Gibby.
so sad.
Best in the world.
When we do all of this, then you're going to get a light, right?
Sure. Drew, what if Drew comes up with lights? Does he get the sweatshirt?
If he can also acknowledge that the last season of Yellowstone was trash, then he can.
I don't know if he's
Wow.
capable.
He needs to do
Scorching
he could do
earth.
that.
It was bad.
It wasn't great.
No.
Really?
Last season was not great.
It was not great. It's a beautifully shot show. There are 5-minute scenes that are really entertaining.
Bless you.
The vignettes, the Western vignettes, are thrilling. The story is incoherent.
Well, and it's the same. We're running it back.
Running
like,
it back
for the
1,000
8th time.
times. Like we've seen it, done it. Come on, be better.
It's very sad. All right. Well, a little higher or lower today, but it's us determining higher
All right.
Are
and
we
lower.
doing it by a draft, or are we reaching a consensus?
I think it's a consensus
All
this
right.
week. So we're coming up with teams 3 through 10. If you were putting together your NFL top 10, obviously we know who the top 2 are. They are in the Super Bowl.
Is it for this season, or like
Go as we head into the off season.
what teams do I want to? Who do I want to be?
You can do that, or we can say
Like the 10 best teams this season, or the 10 best teams going into next season,
the
I don't
10
know
best
everybody's,
teams
like,
going
free
into next
agency
season.
situations.
Let's do that.
as they sit going into free agency.
Yes.
Okay.
And we know the top 2, they're in the Super Bowl, so we start at number 3.
Well, I mean, Cincinnati's 3.
I agree. I concur.
I'm not sure Cincinnati's not 2.
Really?
I mean, you got to. I understand, but like, if I were to tell you that your road to the Super Bowl was to beat Dan Dimes and a 49ers team who could not complete a forward pass, like, has any team reached the Super Bowl in an easier path?
I'll tell you.
I'll
this. I think the Eagles.
I'll wait.
I think the Eagles would have smoked the Bengals.
Maybe, but there's.
I don't know
They've
about
not had to
that.
play a.
They couldn't block them. They could not
have
block
not
that defense.
had to play a 4-quarter game
Of
in
consequence.
months.
No, agreed.
In months, and they had the easiest path. Now they hammered them, but they had the easiest path that anyone's had to the Super Bowl since God knows when.
Agreed. Well,
There's
we'll find
been
out
nothing
now.
easier.
Their defense is dominant.
It is. It's very, very good. But I would also say
Okay, so who is your
I would
number
go
1 going
Cincinnati.
into the off season?
Chiefs. They have Mahomes. As long as you have Mahomes, you're 1.
And number 2, all right, number 2 you would put Cincinnati?
We're gonna put the Eagles.
The Eagles
so
are fine.
They're
They're
fine.
2. I was just pointing out that
Yeah, I
Like-
got you.
it's pretty easy.
So going into free agency, who's at number 4?
I still have Buffalo.
I think there's a lot of
I
there's
think
some
they're
things that
gonna
need to
address
get
some of-
ironed
They're
out.
going
They
to
got to
address
get some
some of
pieces.
those, and they still have Josh Allen.
If you have a coaching change in San Diego / Los Angeles, I mean, they got a lot of dudes. Now, I don't know who's up or contractually. I don't know why they don't win. They do not equal the sum of their parts. I do wonder if Buffalo takes a step back. Like
They've got some big
they were the
free
favorite.
agents.
They were the favorite. They were everybody's preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. They didn't even get to the AFC Championship game. They lost at home. They got drilled at home by Cincinnati.
They're missing like a bunch of their secondary.
Everybody
Von
is.
Miller, everybody is. I know, but those are big, significant injuries to them.
I know, but Miller, it's not like he's in the prime of his career. Like he was a rental.
Still pretty good.
Right, but he's a rental.
He was a good rental
You know.
for the Rams.
He was, but they had Donald too.
Sure.
You know,
Who would you put there? I just don't. We don't know who's playing quarterback for the Niners. Like it's just too much of a question mark to me to put them 4.
Right. I mean, it probably is Buffalo. It makes sense. There's a lot going on there. I don't have a problem with Buffalo though.
I mean, you really can make the argument. There's 3 teams, and is Philly part of that 3 teams and everybody else, or is it
They
2
are-
teams?
Well, Philly is right now. I mean, but
They're going to look totally different next year.
they're going to look totally different. And I also,
Who are their free agents?
We don't know. We're just we're going off of like general feelings. Like Bradbury's a free agent, and Ndamukong Suh will be a free agent. You know, what are they going to pay? What do they have to pay people to keep them? All of it.
And the Super Bowl hangover.
They're really good.
Yes.
Okay. Their offensive defensive lines are legitimate. They maul people.
Yeah.
When you dominate the NFL, but from a score standpoint, it's really, really important.
Yeah.
They also, I don't even know if you could say they have a singular quality win on their schedule. I'll give them to you. Detroit, Minnesota, Washington, Jacksonville, Arizona, Dallas, Pittsburgh, Houston, Indy, Green Bay, Tennessee, New York, Chicago, Giants.
Dallas,
Niners
maybe?
without an
Dallas
ability
and
to
Green
throw
Bay.
a forward pass, and the Giants again. They did not play any of the heavy hitters from the AFC. Not one.
No.
Not one.
Well,
And
they will
and they got
now.
to play the Niners without a quarterback.
They will now.
But I do think they're really good. I'm just saying it's the easiest path anyone's ever had. Anyway, Buffalo 4. Fine with it.
All right. On to number 5 we go.
I got the Niners at 5, even with the quarterback question.
I wouldn't even have minded the Niners at 4. So somebody had something today. I can't remember who it was. It was an NFL Insider guy who said what he's hearing is the Niners will trade Lance, and he even had them going to Tennessee.
Okay.
They will keep Purdy and bring in Brady for a year.
I could see that.
How long is Brady going to take to make the decision? Becomes
I mean,
the
it'd have to
other.
be quick. They'd have to be pretty well aligned. But to me, that would make sense. Purdy's out 6 months. I don't know what the market is for Lance. That would have to be just a dump situation. But I could see Brady playing there for a year. It was almost a year ago we're at the Combine and thinking he was going to play there anyway.
Yeah.
So you got Bengals 3, Buffalo 4, 49ers 5.
Based on where we are right now.
What does Pedro, not Pedro, think the 49ers are going to do at QB?
Is he
He doesn't
inconsolable?
know. No, he's not inconsolable. He's very sad for Purdy. I don't think he's ready to start thinking about what they're going to do next. Honestly.
I'd have the Chargers 6.
I have the Chargers 6 on mine. Agreed.
They're 6.
So that means 4 AFC teams in the top 6.
They need to win 12 games next year.
Yeah.
It's enough.
Number 7, Siete.
I'm considering Jacksonville here.
That's what I have.
Yeah, remember, they get Calvin Ridley.
Mm-hmm. Us and the Ravens, it's just, we would have to make a big leap. Baltimore won 10 games with all that chaos. They won 10 games again. Good grief.
I know.
I would consider Miami here if I knew what was going on at quarterback. I think Dallas is cooked.
What's happened with Vic Fangio, by the way?
I don't know. Did that ever get
We're
confirmed?
TBD still.
Nobody knows.
Florio posted a story a few hours ago that said we are still waiting.
Says Pelissero.
What
said
about
anything?
No, nothing.
No, nobody. Everybody's standing by. Rodgers with the Jets.
Well, that would be a team.
That'd be a game record.
Very immediate consequence.
Yeah.
But I can't put them there
Lions?
right now.
Are the Lions? Is this
The
Lions
Lions are going to be
territory?
they're going to be in my top 10. I have the Jags 7.
They got to get they got some free agents. They're gonna. I think they
I
need
don't
to
have a
bring
problem with
Ingram back.
I don't have a problem with Jacksonville. I think they trend properly.
Jacksonville, number 7.
Well, who are you going to put? Dallas is cooked, it feels like to me. I don't believe in the Giants. I don't believe in Washington.
Yeah, you don't believe
Vikings
in Minnesota.
Are a total fraud.
Because of the uncertainty at quarterback for Miami and the Jets, my final 3, and I don't care what the order, are us, Detroit, and Baltimore. I think that Dallas is going to – I think it's over.
There's no future with the Rams. There's no future. Like Cardinals,
There
that's
could be a
reset.
future in Denver. Denver has some talent. If they
If
landed
someone
Sean
could
Payton or
land-
Harbaugh.
If somebody can get to Russ and sort it out. So if you do the ones that you said in Baltimore, Detroit, if you want to put us 10, which quite frankly, outside of people in this town we'd be laughed at. It's fine.
I don't know about.
No, we would be. I mean, they had us. A lot of people had us at 6-10 this year. They had us properly.
Yeah, but
pegged.
this is the first time we've had a full season of.
I understand
the shot.
But there's also, from the outside looking in, I mean, you've heard it. You've heard national people talk about the production that happened in those 6 games. We know that there's backstory by it, but nationally,
sure.
I think we'll go into next season pick 3rd or 4th in the AFC North if Lamar comes back.
3rd is the ceiling.
Yeah,
they're never going to put us
never going to ahead of
the
Baltimore
Ravens.
or Cincinnati.
No.
So, yeah. I mean, the NFC South guys.
Dreadful.
Have you looked at this thing?
Dreadful.
Like Brady's gone.
Dreadful.
What is the Bucs? Is that Derek Carr with the Bucs?
Maybe.
And that's a mess.
Todd Monken was interviewing today for their OC job, by the way.
That was a job he held.
Yes, he
was their OC.
Todd Monken, Doug Maurice finally started actually talking about what he did for Georgia offensively. Nobody else was talking about it. It was all about Kirby Smart and the defense. Doug was like, wait a second. Actually, what he's getting out of this offense is the difference in that. And you go back to that year and you think, my God, what if you just let him call plays? The year he was
curious.
here. I mean, you remember?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
He would vent in here from time to time.
From time to time.
What? Let me just pose this to you. What would drive him to leave that job? So if I have this right, and I have limited knowledge of college, but I read that he's the highest paid assistant in college football.
$2 million a year.
Okay, so at a place that is he will always be dealing with elite talent.
Mm-hmm.
If not the best, he'll be dealing with top 5 talent.
But it's always changing. Turnover and the fight to keep guys and NIL and that recruiting BS. All of that is
the NFL is just.
The NFL is coaching ball.
Yeah.
And there's an appeal to that. Sure. College football is an up at dawn siege that you can't ever turn off.
Even as an OC?
Yeah. He's got to recruit everything. He's recruiting the entire offense.
Okay. So that's why. Why.
Ryan Day hasn't been home since they lost to Georgia. All he's done is recruit for a month. That's all they're doing. It's recruiting.
Awful.
It never ends.
Yeah.
Never ends.
So that's why.
That's why.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's no way out. So if you just want to coach ball and you've pocketed 3 years at $2 million each, and
he's been around for a long time, he's made plenty of money.
No, I know, but I mean, like, he's made the big money. Like, you're not making
Recently.
$2 million being a coordinator in the NFL. I wouldn't think.
There probably are a few. I'd be curious. They're definitely over $1 million
for sure. But I mean, is there a $2 million coordinator in the NFL?
I don't know.
Like, there's some college coordinators that are approaching 3.
It's wild.
So, yeah.
All right. So, if Tua was healthy,
so annoying.
If you knew Tua was the quarterback in Miami, where would you put him?
Higher. They'd be high. I'd have him like 7. I mean, they didn't lose with him.
Yeah, but I mean,
you can't separate the injuries from him.
What would your expectation? Oh, he's out of these. How many games would you go into a season being
That's
like,
the
we're going to
problem.
get out of him?
So,
it's who it is.
But then the reason why you have the 49ers that high is strictly then because of Shanahan, because it's the same
their whole
situation.
Operation. They still have McCaffrey and Debo and Kittle and Ayuk
and they'll have
Bosa
competent
and
quarterback
Warner
play. Like, they have a lot of options.
Hufanga.
Like, if they had to, they could run it back with Garoppolo. They have Lance under contract. They have Purdy under contract. Like, they'll be able to play somebody there.
Yeah. The Vikings were a team I thought about, but if they can address their defense, which my guess is going to be the focus of this year's draft, then maybe they could be a team of consequence again. Because they can score on anybody.
Yeah,
they have a good offense, and getting Hawkinson, one of the worst trades. The Amari Cooper trade is up there.
Yeah.
AJ Brown trade.
Low key, the Lions still
trade
had
was
him.
Insane.
Yeah,
they gave him in their division.
Yes,
right
in his prime.
And they throw it all over the place. Like, it had to be a personal thing.
They didn't want to pay him.
Yeah.
He was going to come up to get paid, and I don't think they want to pay him what he's going to make.
Yeah.
But, like, a great tight end is pretty important. I mean,
I think the team that could jump the highest on this list with a quarterback infusion is the Jets.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if Rodgers lands on the Jets, then the
Excellent
AFC East is ready to
talent.
go.
Brees Hall way ahead of schedule, by the way.
Yeah. Is there one NFC team? Like, what NFC? Like, if Rodgers ended up in Seattle?
Geno played pretty well. They're going to get a big infusion of talent. That's a team that I would keep an eye on.
Yeah. But will they roll with Geno again? You know, there's a limit to that.
Yeah. He's not going to write you back, by the way.
No.
With these kind of
Washington with the right quarterback? No, there's not. It's all AFC, unfortunately. Not great. So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. It's kind of crazy going. I mean, like, no football this weekend. You get this Pro Bowl thing, that's it.
It's awful.
It's
This is not the most wonderful time of the year.
No. It got cold today.
Who needs it? Told you. I said, what did I come in here? I said, I'm unhappy. By the way, I'm going to do a smoked. Nana has requested a smoked tenderloin.
She's coming over.
She's coming. Yeah, we're having a
nice little dinner.
Yeah, a little dinner.
What are you doing sides?
She likes a lemon kale salad that Kayla makes, so we'll do that. We'll do our classic mushroom raviolis and a little spicy pesto.
I like it.
And
the children coming?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Children will be in the mix.
Everybody will be in the mix.
Fantastic. She asked for a hoodie. What'd she ask for?
Nothing. She wants an orchid.
An orchid.
Like a plant.
God, yeah, I know.
Yeah, but like the one that you have to like put the ice cubes in that you can like keep for a while.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay,
all right.
I just said like if you come up with something that you want, like
yeah,
I'll give
you know what
month.
though, as you're the same, like you get to this point, and she's older than us. You're like, what do I need? What do I need?
And I get it. Christmas just happened, so she got loaded up. What she needed was an inside-out umbrella. Check. She needs some new shoes.
All
check.
sorted out.
Yeah, all sorted out.
Next level's next. Happy birthday.